are doing well. I am excited to bring you this Anastasia Beverly Hills Modern Renaissance inspired vibe because I'm loving the berry toned eyeshadows, and it is so thrilling to be able to walk around the department stores as well as the drugstore and see that berry themed eyeshadow palettes are just so on trend right now. So I want to mention a couple of palettes if you don't have the Modern Renaissance palette, since I know I don't own it, but I've chosen to shop my stash with my Kat Von D Vita Look Remix palette for my Pan That Palette challenge. And then I've also pulled in the Lorac Mega Pro palette because I wanted that berry tone vibe, but I'm going to give you tons of suggestions that you can use from the rest of your collection if you would also like to recreate this look. So the colors that I was kind of inspired by from the Modern Renaissance palette, I'm not doing like a dupe look per se, like I said, inspired, but the colors I was kind of thinking from that palette are in particular golden ochre, something like a light pale gold for all over the lid, a mauve tone for the transition crease area like Buon Fresco, then going through just kind of a shimmery white highlight kind of vibe. Like I said, I'll talk you through what I do in the get ready with me portion. And then the star of the show, definitely Love Letter, to get that really intense kind of a reddish berry, mulberry kind of vibe in the crease area. And then something like Real Guard to just really warm it up, kind of a matte orange, whether you want to go deeper with the kind of more brick orange like in that palette. I chose a more vibrant orange because that happens to be what I'm using out of the Kat Von D palette. And then in the Get Ready With Me that you're going to see, I use a matte black in my outer corner because that happened to be what I'm working with, black metal from the Kat Von D palette, but I wanted to show you today using a matte brown if you wanted to go through something like Cypress Umber to really give it that Anastasia kind of vibe. So easy, easy, easy to recreate. It's a perfect way to kind of have a sweet, romantic kind of vibe that you can wear toned down during the day. You can amp it up at night. Like I said, it's so on trend right now. If you're kind of looking at your berry shadows going, I don't know what to do with these. I mean, just simple, 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 simple. And this look is really going to be catered to you if you have hooded eyes and glasses as well. So before we get into it, the other palettes I was kind of thinking instantly, if you have the Lorac Mega Pro, I'm going to put up a picture of it right here because I actually have used a lot of the shades, so I don't have everything in the palette, but most of the shades in this look you can definitely find in that palette, with the exception of like the bright purple that I have on my lower lash line, but that's easy to find in the rest of your collection. But you can definitely find a soft pale gold, a shimmery white, a mauve crease shade, and then you can definitely go through with the mulberry shade and then use either espresso, or you can go through with a black shade like black or caviar. So super, super simple. If you're going with drugstore options, I personally was immediately gravitated toward the CoverGirl True Naked Sunsets. I actually picked this up because I'm just about done with my mulberry shade, and I'm not ready to give up that trend of eyeshadow because I've just been loving it on a daily basis. But this palette is also right on trend, and then you can always go through with deeper shades from your collection to get that matte espresso shade, or if you like a matte black, because both are lovely. With this look, this is a great comparison to have. And then the other thing I would suggest is definitely bringing in something that's a little bit more mid-tone mauve. So if you have the Urban Decay Naked 3 palette, or if you have the Lorac Unzipped palette, the rose gold kind of vibe one, and then also too, I don't have these on hand, but I was noticing when I walked through Walmart yesterday, Rimmel has released a rose gold palette that has a lot of complementary shades in there that you could sub in. And then the Maybelline Lemonade Craze, I think the pink in there is a little bit brighter in tone than what I'm thinking, like for Love Letter, or is it Venetian Red, I think is the red shade in the Modern Renaissance palette, but you could certainly build it up and get a similar effect when you add in all the rest of the shades. So that would be an idea. Or if you want something a little bit more brick neutrally, the Urban Decay Naked Heat palette would be an awesome option. I was also thinking of the Wet n Wild Rosé in the Air. I'm going to go on and include a picture of it up here in this area because a lot of the shades in this palette definitely are complementary. You've got that berry shade, you've got a mauve tone shade, you've got the deeper brown if you want to really build it up, and you also have an excellent highlighting shade, and then you've got that orange in there. So that's kind of a one-stop shop. And again, I love the price point on that Wet n Wild palette. And then I wouldn't necessarily like work out of the entire palette for this look, but definitely if you own the Too Faced Sweet Peach or Just Peachy Mattes palette, There are a lot of options in here as well that you could sub in. Like definitely I was thinking of peach sangria you could use in your crease area. And then going through, kind of toned down, I would say just ripe. It's a little bit darker than what I wanted, but I did kind of try it out just to see. And then definitely you could make this white work. And then have the deep espresso, and then have a little bit of a brighter effect, but go through with something like peach punch to blend out your crease area. So, I mean, like I said, it's really easy, and you can definitely go through and shop your collection. So if you are interested in putting this together, as I walk you through the steps on how I put the eyeshadow looks, I'm going to go on and give you some other suggestions to shop your stash if you really want to just kind of jump around your eyeshadow collection. So I hope that you enjoyed as much as I've been wearing it, because I cannot get enough of this look. So go on and continue watching. Start off this look, as per usual, I have gone through and primed my eyes with my MAC Soft Ochre Paint Pot, just to make sure that the canvas is ready to go, easy to blend. So go through with your favorite eyeshadow primer. And then you don't necessarily have to do this, but I've chosen to do it because I really wanted a soft, flattering light gold over my lid. And I've actually been in the process of painting the shade Legend from my Kat Von D palette, which is like a very strikingly white gold. Like, it's very bright. It's not necessarily the most flattering on my skin tone, but I figured out the way to make it work is I'm taking my NYX Jumbo eyeshadow pencil in the shade Cashmere, and I'm just laying that down all over my lid area to kind of give me more of an effect of light bronze from the Lorac Pro palette. I found that that is the most flattering gold I've ever worn on my eyes. I love panning it. It's made me gravitate towards other gold shades like that from the rest of my collection, and so I get a very similar effect with these two in combination together. So Lorac Pro is another option that you could use to bring in for this look for the matte espresso shade, the gold, the mauve, the white, and then the black. Like if you wanted black, and then you could always use deep purple on your lower lash line. All you'd really need is something a little bit more berry tone than that garnet shade in there. So there you go, there's another suggestion. But basically I'm going through with this really bright, kind of a lemony shadow, for lack of a better word, using an e.l.f.c. brush all over my lid. I was kind of wanting to achieve something that was similar to Soft Ochre. Like I said, it's not going to dupe it, but you know, I'm getting a similar effect. If you want some other alternatives from your collection, the one that I immediately gravitate towards, if you picked up the MAC Mariah Carey eyeshadow quads that she came out with, the one in particular called I'm That Chick You Like, the gold in the very top is very similar to Legends. So that is another color that I've subbed in for this look. I love the vibe that it gives. I still use that NYX Cashmere pencil, and it's a beautiful, beautiful effect for every day. So it gives you another option. I also thought about the MAC Warm Neutrals palette. The gold shade in the very bottom left corner called Lemon Tart is ideal. Again, very similar tones to Legend, kind of golden ochre vibe. When you put the whole look together, it is very modern Renaissance appeal, you know what I mean? So I know that the MAC Warm Neutrals palette is very, very popular. If you have it in your collection, that gives you some incentive to shop your stash for that shade. And then I also thought about, if you don't like gold, like straight gold, you can always go in with your Too Faced Sweet Peach palette. The shade Nectar kind of has a more champagne peach vibe, but again, it's very cohesive when you put it all together. You still get that modern Renaissance vibe, but if you're just not into gold, or you don't like it on your skin tone at all, Nectar would also be a lovely option. And then, like I said, when I'm going around the drugstores, I'm seeing all these berry inspired palettes, and a lot of them have gold shades in them. So if you pick up the Maybelline Lemonade Pop palette, I think that's what it's called, Lemonade Craze or Lemonade Pop, Lemonade Jam, I don't know. There's like a grape jelly one and then the lemonade one. But even going through with the CoverGirl palette, the True Naked Sunsets, this bright gold right here, same thing. So it gives you, like I said, just really easy ways to shop your stash and stay super trendy. So that kind of pretty much takes care of giving you a lot of options, or at least getting you thinking about other things that you might have in your collection. Then as we go into our crease shade, I wanted a really mauve tone because that helps make the mulberry a little bit more flattering on my eyes, so it's not so deathly and sick. So what I've gone through and done is I'm actually using my Lorac Mega Pro palette, because there are a couple shades in there I wanted to use. So what I have done with my palette is I've actually mixed the shades Dusty Plum and Orchid, or Dusty Plum and Dusty Rose down here. I've mixed them together to make just a really subtle mauve tone shade that I can just pop into my crease. If I were using my Lorac Pro palette, I would go for the shade Mauve. Love that eyeshadow. Also, another combination that I like to use if I'm going through with my Urban Decay Naked 3 palette, I like to mix the shades Limit and Nooner. These two matte shades in the palette, I love the combination of these two. It's the same exact kind of tone vibe as that mauve shade. And then also I was thinking, I'll think of it in just a minute, but there's tons of mauves to kind of give you a Buon Fresco little bit of vibe. And if you want to go like rosier, the Wet n Wild Rosé in the Air, that mauve tone shade in there is a beautiful, beautiful option. And then I was kind of looking through other things with the Tentalia website. Makeup Geek eyeshadow single and Unexpected was one that she suggested would be a great dupe for Buon Fresco. And then also if you have the Too Faced Chocolate Bonbons palette, the shade Almond Truffle, I'll go on and put a picture of it right here, but Almond Truffle, it's a little bit more brownie taupe, but again, like Tentalia suggested that it was also another dupe for Buon Fresco. And again, it gives you another option to shop your stash. So there you go. Then going into highlighting shades, this is where I had a lot of fun because I really want an ethereal kind of vibe to this look, like bring in some purpley tones. I'm currently working on the shade Muse from my Kat Von D Mi Vita Loca Remix palette, which if you're wanting kind of a similar dupe to that, some of the suggestions I would pull out, Colored Rain's Chameleon, if you have the Becca Amethyst or Prismatic Amethyst highlighter, the purple one, Amethyst highlighter, or if you have Sugar Pills Frostine, Makeup Geek eyeshadow in Phantom, or if you have the Kat Von D Alchemist palette, the Amethyst Transformer, those are all great options. What I would do with that is I would mix it in with a shimmery white eyeshadow. I don't like shimmery white eyeshadow, to be particularly honest, but I was working with Skulls for my Kat Von D Mi Vita Loca Remix palette, so when I mix it with that purpley shade, it makes it very, very wearable for me and a shade that I really enjoy. So the Muse shade is this really bright, lilac-y purple, and what I do is I tap my brush in between the shimmery white, and then I go back through with this Muse shade and I dust it into my inner corner and on top of my brow bone. The other thing that I wanted to talk about, you don't necessarily have to do this, but I've taken my NYX Faux White eyeliner in the shade White Smoke to really kind of amp up that purple effect because it has just enough of a lilac tint where it really helps all of that come together. So I go through and I use this white eyeliner in my inner corner and then on my brow bone, and I'm gonna take it a little bit later on my waterline, and it just gives this kind of like lit from within kind of glow without being too crazy and over the top, and it definitely takes down some of the ashiness of just using a shimmery white. So I wanted to share that tip with you because I've been loving doing that lately. So if you're looking for alternatives outside of your Modern Renaissance palette, some of the things that I've loved and panned, my Snow shade from my Lorac Pro 2 palette to have a shimmery white, Skulls from the Mi Vita Loca Remix palette. I also love using Strange from my Urban Decay Naked 3 palette. This is what I'm currently wearing today, mixed with Muse. I mean, that purple is so subtle that it's almost not noticeable, but like I said, in person, it just gives that little bit of a effect. You know, it's awesome. So Strange is another great alternative. Or if you have the Lorac Mega Pro palette, Vanilla would be an awesome option. And then going through to other palettes, if you have the Lorac Mega Pro 3, the warm palette, there's also another pan of not Strange, there's also another pan of Snow, the really warm toned Mega Pro palette. So, and then I was also thinking shimmery whites are pretty common in a lot of palettes, so you probably have some that I'm not thinking of, but kind of moving along. Then we get into the really big star of the show, and that is our crease shade. Oh my gosh, do I love the shade Love Letter from the Modern Renaissance palette. And it was honestly a shade that really intimidated me until I learned how to work with it. It's a shade that I would always be intimidated to buy singles of and whatnot, but when I finally embraced it, I can't get enough of it. I love it. So What I'm doing is I'm taking the berry shade, matte berry shade from my Lorac Mega Pro palette actually, and then I'm dusting it into the outer corner of my eye, and then I'm blending it up into my crease area. I have gone through with the shade Mulberry from my Lorac Mega Pro palette to give you a little bit of Project Pan Porn. I'm just about done with that shade now. It's just a really beautiful matte berry toned shade, but like I said, if you have the Modern Renaissance, definitely Love Letter. Or if you want something a little bit darker, go through with Venetian Red. The dupes that I have found that would be pretty close, definitely the Mulberry shade from the CoverGirl True Naked Sunsets. This one is closer than this one, but it's not quite completely matte, but this is a great alternative if you want something affordable or an easy palette to travel with, because I know I go out of town quite a bit. So there's that. There's also the Mulberry shade in that Wet n Wild Rosé in the Air palette that would be quite lovely. And then some others that Temptalia suggested were ColourPop's eyeshadow in Going Steady. If you have the Huda Beauty Rose Gold palette, the shade Risque in the new formulated version, not her older palette. And then, like I mentioned before, if you have the Too Faced Just Peachy Matte palette, the shade Peach Sangria, it's a little bit more red, but still kind of along the same, same vein. You could achieve a very similar effect when all the shadows are together. So, you know what? I ought to sub in that palette once I finish Mulberry. Tip for thought. I might need to change my makeup basket around a little bit for August. So there's the Peach Sangria. Ooh, that peach smell is strong. And then going through to get the Realgar shade, what I'm doing is I just want a little bit of warmth to blend out my crease area and to really kind of give a more multi-dimensional effect to my eyeshadow. So I really like following through with a matte warm orange in my crease area. And so I'm going through with the shade Analog from my Kat Von D Vita Loca Remix palette. But if you're going through with your Modern Renaissance palette, definitely Realgar. And close dupes that I was kind of looking at, if you have the Tarte Toasted palette, the shade Warmth would be something fun. Or if you have the Too Faced Sweet Peach palette, Summer Yum. Actually, Summer Yum's a little bit more brown, and you definitely want something a little bit more orange. Or if you have MAC shadows, go with something like matte orange, because even if it's really bright and vibrant, you can still make it work because you can tone it down, you know what I mean? Or if you have the Anastasia Beverly Hills Prism palette, the bright orange that's in the top row, that would be another suggestion as well. So I don't know, like it gave me a lot of inspiration to go through, and now I've fallen in love with matte oranges out of my collection, because I know I have one from MAC, and then I've got a couple of like random things. Oh, the orange in the Wet n Wild Rosé in the Air. Again, another one. That is just a great palette to do this look at an affordable price point. I also thought, all right, that would present another option. And then going into like deepening up the outer like corner of the eye, give kind of a winged effect. This is not an obligatory step. If you really want something subtle, very wearable, appropriate during the day, if you're going to work, you're running your errands or whatnot, I've worn this look without amping it up, but I also like having that kind of winged liner effect. Since my eyes are hooded, this is a little bit more wearable for me to do more of a winged effect with eyeshadow versus using liner. So what I've gone on and done, if you want a matte espresso version, something like using Cypress Umber from the Modern Renaissance palette, what I do is I take a really small crease brush and I stamp a deep color into the outer corner of my eye, and I blend it up into the crease area just to kind of really anchor everything down. I don't like wearing false lashes, but I definitely feel like I get that va-va-boom effect when I do this. So as you're watching the demo over here of me getting ready, I'm using Black Metal from my Kat Von D palette. I love it with a smoky black shadow. It's been really fun. It's given me a lot of use for that shadow. This is a Maybelline eyeshadow in the shade Made for Mocha. It looks like so. Or if you're using your Kat Von D Vita Loca Remix palette, I would go through with the shade Vox. That is another alternative. Or if you have the Mariah Carey quad again with I'm That Chick You Like, the matte espresso down here. Matte espressos are super, super easy to find, as well as matte blacks in a lot of your favorite palettes. If you want something more purple, the MAC Red Hot x9, any of these bottom shades would be lovely. This kind of mauvey toned, deep purple, this really darkened plummy brown, and then this brighter purple. They're lovely, lovely options if you want a little bit more color and pizzazz to the look and not have it be quite so neutral. So that gives you a lot of range to kind of reach around and shop your stash. Then to go into my waterline, like I mentioned before, I'm taking that White Smoke Faux White eyeliner from NYX, and I've used it on my waterline, and then I've decided to go through with a purple on my lower lash line. I found it is the most flattering to make the brown in my eyes really pop. I've really been digging these glosses from Firmoo lately, and so since there's purple on the top of the frames, I really kind of wanted to tie that in and bring in kind of more purpley toned products, especially using this faux white eyeliner. And so you don't have to go with a purple on the lower lash line if you want to do navy, if you want to do green, if you want to do blue, if you want to do purple, if you want to do burgundy, if you want to do something like burnt rusty orangey red. Go for it. Go for whatever you want to do. I'm personally painting the shade Echo from my Kat Von D palette. And so what I've done is I've gone through with the Maybelline gel waterproof liner in the shade Polished Amethyst, and I'm running that on my lower lash line. And then Echo is a really just bright, shimmery purple. It is very difficult to work with on the eye, but it offsets that eyeliner really well to just make it pop. It's gorgeous. I love that combination together. So like I mentioned before, you can go through with whatever color you want. I decided to go on and keep the cohesiveness with the berry, the wine, the burgundy tones, using the maroons, the burgundies, and the purples to just really make it pop. And then for blush, as we kind of go into the rest of the face, bronzer, I want to stick with kind of a red tone bronzer. I've actually made a Franken bronzer with old eyeshadows from my collection, but if you're going through and kind of looking for things, either go for something like the Too Faced Chocolate Soleil bronzer in just the normal shade, not the light one, the normal, like the darker one, or if you have the Becca Shimmering Skin Perfector in Gradient Glow, that is a perfect red tone bronzer, or if you have Bare Minerals Warmth, that is a similar tone to this, but again, it kind of anchors down the eye look to make it really pop with the rest of what's going on your face. And then for blush, I've actually taken two shades from my Kat Von D palette. I'm mixing Destroyer and Swoon together, but just go for like a brightened, pinky, corally vibe. You could even take some of your Mulberry eyeshadow and just kind of tone it down and use it on your cheeks as a blush. That would be a really lovely way to kind of keep things cohesive and together. And then going for lips, I like On My Lips But Better kind of vibe with this eye look because it is so dark and intense on the eyes. So my suggestion would be, today I'm wearing the MAC Whirl lip liner, and I've topped it with MAC's Twig lipstick. I've also worn it with MAC Whirl again and Velvet Teddy because those are lipsticks I'm trying to pan out of my collection. Or if you wanted to use Bite Beauty's Chai, Bite Beauty Pepper. So I hope you have as much fun wearing it as I have, because it's so easy, it's so versatile, it's fun, and it will get you tons of compliments, because I have to admit, like, I can just be driving through the drive-thru at Starbucks, getting my drink, or going running errands or whatnot, and everybody's just attracted to the berry eyeshadow because it's fun, it's creative, it's inspiring, and when you see somebody wear it, you just think, I want to do that too. I want to do that. So have fun wearing it, shopping your makeup collections for those beautiful items that you own. Have some fun rotating some new makeup items into your rotation if you did pick up some new palettes. I hope that this offers some helpful tips and tricks. So I look forward to seeing you next time. See you later.